Welcome back to my workshop. Now today's video is a little bit different. What I'm going to do is try to explain where I get some of my materials from. In a lot of the projects I do, I say, oh, this piece of wood is from an old wardrobe, or this is from an old park bench. Now where I get this material from is just basically reclaimed bits of furniture that nobody wants anymore, or I can see that there's some good wood in it. So what I'm going to do is today I've got one of these, which is an old set of chest of drawers, which I know the history of. They're at least 10 years old, and they used to be a wardrobe. What I'm going to do is quickly take this apart and then have a quick look at the wood that's in it. Now this I know is all pine, so there should be some good wood in it, and then I can see what I can use it for afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to start stripping this apart and then have a look and see what wood's in it. Now to strip something apart like this, you don't need a lot of expensive tools. All you need is some basic hand tools, and I'll show you what I'm going to use for this. So basically what I have here is, I use a drill driver, but you could easily use just a normal screwdriver. This makes it a lot quicker. Just a pair of pincers, which I got from let's have a look. I think I got these from the Work Zone. So these are from Aldi's. A little hammer, it doesn't matter whether it's a nylon hammer or a normal claw hammer, just something to hit things with. Obviously if you use a nylon one, you're going to do less damage to the wood. A pair of side cutters for maybe pulling out the odd pin. Screwdriver, just because there might be some screws to undo, and also you can use them to lever things as long as you don't break them. And a little hammer. This one's got a claw on it, just so I can get out any other nails or anything that are in there. Okay, so I'm going to use these to take it apart. Okay, so that's the chest of drawers now stripped down to nothing. Luckily, it didn't have any glue, wood glue on it at all, so everything was unscrewed or unpinned. So what do we get for our initial outlay of nothing? Right, so here we have all the bits and pieces. Let's start at this end. So the drawer fronts, okay, these are pine. They've obviously been stained and varnished. There's a hole in the middle. That can easily be filled, but this is all quite blonde, this wood, but it's good. There's a good section of wood in each of these. Obviously needs planing and sanding. Yeah, is enough to make a box. The actual drawer construction, I've got all these pieces of wood. Obviously they're all profiled with various drawer runner slides, but they can all be cut out. They can all be used and turned back into boards. Now this, obviously the drawer sides are slightly older wood than the drawer fronts. Now if you look at these are slightly darker, which would indicate that they're older, which means that these are probably drier. So if we could check the moisture content, these would be less. So these are less likely to distort. These, however, they're still quite blonde. There's probably quite a high moisture content in these, so they may over time still distort a little. But as I say, I know these are 10 years old, so they've probably settled down quite a bit. But this is more stable than this. What else do we get? Okay, we get some bits of ply. Now you'll notice when I took these apart, these are probably 5mm ply. When I took these apart, these were the drawer bottoms, and this was the back. As I took it apart, I made sure that I took out all of the nails. Okay, so the reason for that is when you're taking it apart, if you take all the nails and screws and everything out as you're taking it apart, then you don't run the risk of grabbing a piece of wood, sticking it through the planer, or trying to chisel it or something, or sticking it through your bandsaw or your circular saw, and then hitting a nail or a screw or some piece of metal that's still in it. Okay, so making sure you take all the nails and everything out before you even put it in your wood store. Okay, what else have we got here? Now obviously we've got the top and the sides, which were slightly thicker, slightly thicker ply. These are not too bad. The problem is obviously where it's had drawer runners in it, there's holes everywhere, but they're only on this side. On this side there isn't any. Okay, so yeah, this is a usable piece. You could also make a box out of this, or a planter or something. But let's have a look at the top here. So this top, it's all very shiny, but it's scuffed, it's scratched. Let's quickly knock some of the varnish off this and see what it's like underneath. Okay, so we've quickly knocked some of the varnish off of the top here. Now what you can see is obviously this, actually it feels quite good actually. I should be able to get any of the dents out of it and the scratches without too much trouble. Now you can see this is obviously slightly darker than the underside, because obviously this has either had some stain or where it's been exposed to daylight, it's actually darkened down quite a bit. But as a piece of board, this is quite smooth, quite straight, so I'm quite impressed with that. I could actually make something out of that. And obviously the sides are very similar. In addition to all that, what do we get with our freebie stash? We get a couple of knobs, which you might think, oh, wooden knobs, oh, how exciting. But if you saw my last video, you can use door knobs for feet. Yeah, I used them on a planter that I just made, so you could use these on some sort of a planter feet, you know, or something that's not really going to be seen much. Or even, let me show you another trick what I've used knobs for before. Come around to here. Okay, on the side of my table here, I have a Lazy Susan. Yeah, this is for displaying items, but it's actually fixed on the side of my cabinet here with some feet, and they literally just, that's it, they're like that. So there's a million and one uses for some wooden feet. What else do we get? Let's get back over here. Right, also we get a mess because I've just sanded. Get those out of the way. Get loads of these corner brackets, which I tend not to use much in construction of any projects, but you can use these for making little shelves where obviously you can't see these, but you could quite easily have this screwed to something and use it as a base for a shelf in a cabinet. Few dowels. Yeah, luckily because there was no wood glue, I can reuse these because I'm a cheapskate. I can reuse these. Handful of 40mm screws or 1.5" screws. Yeah, posi drive screws. Yeah, always good. Loads of these. We've got about 70 of these screws. These ones tend to be the ones that are used on all of the hinges in your kitchen. All the door hinges on your cabinets in your kitchen, they will use those. So if you ever get a loose hinge and you need a new screw, I've got hundreds. Also there's a different type of screw here that's been used. This is a different type head. This one's obviously got a taper on it, but this one's got a flat head here. Okay, different type screws. And then these things, which I don't use very often, they're for locking into place. The sort of thing you find in an IKEA cabinet or an old IKEA cabinet. I tend not to use these, they're too difficult to fit, so I don't use them. And some nails, tacks, which I shall put straight in the bin. Okay, so that's it. It's just to show you that from a bit of scrap material or scrap furniture, you can actually get some useful material. You'll probably see some of these bits and pieces of wood in future projects. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks very much for watching. It was a bit of a random video this week. Hope you liked it. Hope you gained some information from it. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, so that's the chest of drawers. That's what it is. Okay, so that's the chest of drawers.